Warning, fiscal cliff ahead. Did you see that? We go to politics now. The nation inching closer to the fiscal cliff. And with just 19 days to go, there is still no deal. Outlining what he calls, quote, deliberate and frank talks with President Obama, the House Speaker John Boehner says both sides remain far apart. So joining me now, CNN analyst Roland Martin and CNN contributor Will Cain. To Roland first. Is this a real stalemate, or is this all about posturing, Roland?
No, it's a real stalemate. Obviously, you have Republicans who clearly do not want to raise taxes on anybody. The president has made it perfectly clear that I won, I have a mandate, and we are not going to continue doing this. I mean, also keep in mind, those same Bush tax cuts have contributed to our deficit. So it's really interesting to hear folks say that, well, it really should, we should continue them, but then say let's cut the deficit when they actually contributed according to the CBO. And so there's no doubt it's the question who's going to blink first. I think the president certainly has more leverage on his side. Republicans know it, and they're trying to hold out as best as they can. But I think in the end, he'll get his wish.
Who's going to blink first? Gosh. All right. But, Will, this is for you. It seems like Americans aren't all that interested in lawmakers digging in. I want to look at this poll now, because this is what a new NBC Wall Street Journal poll on the budget shows. It shows that for the first time, a majority of Republican voters, 59%, want party leaders to compromise. And for Democrats, it is at an all-time high of 70%. Another poll. Separately, when asked who would be to blame if no fiscal deal is reached, a majority of 56% say both sides. So how much can public opinion, if at all, you can see that the American public, they're sick of it. How much does public opinion influence this debate?
It certainly has been influencing it. Those polls reflect something a little different than what we've understood in the past, Don. So here's the deal. In order to get that compromise the polls suggest they'd like to see, there has to be a give and take on both sides, right? Well, the give and take that the Republicans are requiring is they want to see spending cuts included in this fiscal cliff deal. Roland's right. Democrats won the election. They're sitting in the catbird seat. They don't want to include spending cuts, and President Obama doesn't think he needs to. In fact, if we go over the cliff, other polls suggest Republicans will get the blame. So as Roland suggested, they have most of the leverage. Therefore, we don't get to a compromise or a deal. One caveat, though. Republicans have recognized this lack of leverage. What they did is they've looked into 2013 and see, a couple months in, we've got a debt ceiling deal. If we don't do the compromise now, we're going to hold you during that debt ceiling debate. We're going to get spending cuts out of you then. And President Obama does not want to relive that 2011 catastrophe, chaos.
Hang on, Roland, but before you go, I didn't hear anything. It sounded like Charlie Brown to me after I heard you say Roland's right. I don't know if I've ever heard you utter those words, Will Cain.
Actually, he often says that. So this is not a shocker. It's not a breaking news. It's not exclusive. It happens a lot.
It's a just in. But go ahead. What were you saying?
No, but here's the deal, though. First of all, for the audience, when you talk about the fiscal cliff, it really involves three things. First of all, it deals with the Bush tax cuts that are set to expire in December. It also deals with the debt ceiling, also sequestration. So it's really three parts to it. What the president has consistently said, I've talked to people in his administration, they've said, look, we want to deal first just with the tax cuts. Republicans want to add the other pieces to it because they know it's hard to defend fighting for the tax cuts for the top 2%. They need to be able to tell their supporters, we got something out of this. The president is saying, no, separate them. And that's part of the reason why you have this battle.
Let's go on. I'll dig deeper into what you're saying, Roland. 70% for Democrats. 70% seem to suggest that they are willing to see cuts in things like entitlements. House Speaker John Boehner says taxes remain a sticking point, but there are reports that Boehner is open to more revenues. Is it time for Democrats to give more ground on things like Social Security, on Medicare and Medicaid, Roland?
The president did so last year. Trust me, I think if you ask Republican leadership, they would love to take the deal he put on the table last year. That is 3 cuts for every 1 revenue increase. Guess what? They can't do it now. In fact, the president now is asking for $1.6 trillion in new revenue when he settled for $800 billion last year. They had a shot. They blew it. They thought we're going to win the White House. We can get our way. Now he's making them pay by saying, sorry, I won, you didn't.
Okay, first to Roland, and then I'll give you the last word, Will. Deal, Roland, before the end of the year?
Yeah, there'll be a deal.
Okay. Will?
Only if the president's terrified of the debt ceiling debate. Otherwise, he still thinks he's got all the leverage, the public's with him, and he'll fight for taxes going up and no spending cuts. I don't know how scared he is of the debt ceiling. We'll see.
All right.
I saw him the other night. He doesn't look scared.
Skirt. Thank you very much, Will. Thank you, Roland. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.